The objective truth is not up for debate. Natural science has no duality. It is what it is. There is no double truth, only a single truth. For before men can reason together, they must agree in first principles, and it is impossible to reason with a man who has no principles in common with you. The first principle is that qualities must necessarily be in something that is figured, coloured, hard or soft, or that moves or resists. It is not to these qualities, but to that which is the subject of them, that we give the name body. If any man should think fit to deny that these things are qualities, or that they require any subject, I leave him to enjoy his opinion as a man who denies first principles, and who is not fit to be reasoned with. It is certain no man can conceive or believe smelling to exist of itself without a mind or something that has the power of smelling, of which it is called a sensation, an operation, or a feeling. Yet, if any man should demand a proof that sensation cannot be without a mind or sentient being, I confess that I can give none, and that to pretend to prove it seems to me almost as absurd as to deny it. If there are certain principles, as I think there are, which the constitution of our nature leads us to believe, and which we are under a necessity to take for granted in the common concerns of life, without being able to give a reason for them, these are what we call the principles of common sense, and what is manifestly contrary to them is what we call absurd. All reasoning must be from first principles, and for first principles no other reason can be given but this, that by the constitution of our nature we are under a necessity of assenting to them. I gave implicit belief to the information of nature by my senses for a considerable part of my life, before I had learned so much logic as to be able to start a doubt concerning them. And now, when I reflect upon what is past, I do not find that I have been imposed upon by this belief. I find that without it I must have perished by 1,000 accidents. I find that without it I should have been no wiser now than when I was born. I should not even have been able to acquire that logic which suggests these sceptical doubts with regard to my senses. Therefore, I consider this instinctive belief as one of the best gifts of nature. I thank the author of my being, who bestowed it upon me before the eyes of my reason were opened, and still bestows it upon me, to be my guide where reason leaves me in the dark. There is a much greater similitude than is commonly imagined between the testimony of nature given by our senses and the testimony of men given by language. The credit we give to both is at first the effect of instinct only. When we grow up and begin to reason about them, the credit given to human testimony is restrained and weakened by the experience we have of deceit. But the credit given to the testimony of our senses is established and confirmed by the uniformity and constancy of the laws of nature. Perception, whether original or acquired, implies no exercise of reason, and is common to men, children, idiots, and brutes. The more obvious conclusions drawn from our perceptions by reason make what we call common understanding, by which men conduct themselves in the common affairs of life, and by which they are distinguished from idiots. The more remote conclusions which are drawn from our perceptions by reason make what we commonly call science in the various parts of nature, whether in agriculture, medicine, mechanics, or in any part of natural philosophy. Such principles are parts of our constitution, no less than the power of thinking. Reason can neither make nor destroy them, nor can it do anything without them. It is like a telescope, which may help a man to see farther who hath eyes, but without eyes a telescope shows nothing at all. A mathematician cannot prove the truth of his axioms, nor can he prove anything, unless he takes them for granted. A historian or a witness can prove nothing, unless it is taken for granted that the memory and senses may be trusted. A natural philosopher can prove nothing, unless it is taken for granted that the course of nature is steady and uniform. How or when I got such first principles, upon which I build all my reasoning, I know not, for I had them before I can remember. But I am sure they are parts of my constitution, and that I cannot throw them off. That our thoughts and sensations must have a subject, which we call ourself, is not therefore an opinion got by reasoning, but is a natural principle. That our sensations of touch indicate something external, extended, figured, hard or soft, is not a deduction of reason, but is a natural principle. The belief of it and the very conception of it are equally parts of our constitution. It is absurd to think that nature allows our senses to deceive us and gives us other faculties to detect the cheat. If we are deceived in it, we are deceived by him that made us, and there is no remedy. That we have clear and distinct conceptions of extension, figure, motion, and other attributes of body, which are neither sensations, nor like any sensation, is a fact of which we may be as certain as that we have sensations. And that all mankind have a fixed belief of an external material world, a belief which is neither got by reasoning nor education, and a belief which we cannot shake off, even when we seem to have strong arguments against it, and no shadow of argument for it, is likewise a fact, for which we have all the evidence that the nature of the thing admits. These facts are phenomena of human nature, from which we may justly argue against any hypothesis, however generally received. But to argue from a hypothesis against facts is contrary to the rules of true philosophy. Let scholastic sophisters entangle themselves in their own cobwebs. I am resolved to take my own existence and the existence of other things upon trust, and to believe that snow is cold and honey sweet, whatever they may say to the contrary. He must either be a fool or want to make a fool of me that would reason me out of my reason and senses.